Look, this is the high pressure pump with cooler for fuel. Cooler. Danny, show the cooler.
This is what, if you open that up, it would look similar to this. See the coils inside?
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Look, look, the raw water enter here.
Yeah, these are the two spots for the water.
Enter here, circulate, and goes
And
out.
go back out.
And the temperature of the fuel
Lower.
decreases. And look,
Now this one here doesn't have the fuel pump because we replaced it. This has the fuel pump. It has, what's this? Pressure regulator. It has a little hose and it has a little float. What's the float would be used for? Well, just imagine if there's any vapor, how does the vapor get out of the canister? There's got to be a little opening. So there's a little fitting that bleeds the vapor out. So that's that float acts
and
as
the
a
float
vapor.
goes up to indicate that you have vapor.
So this is this motor right here. That's that fuel pump for that motor there. Now that E-Tech, let me show you the other E-Tech. And this is the E-Tech one, see? So let me explain something that I see with these models, and I see a lot of them. People who run into the sand, what happens is they can clog these up and cause a vapor lock. Not only in this, so this particular motor,
Through the water pump, they're pulling sand through?
yeah, they're pulling sand right through, and then what happens, these coils get clogged, the fuel gets hot. But not only that, this same water passage that's being used for here cools the computer down.
Some Hialeah technicians say, "Oh, I eliminate the raw water because when the fuel is hot, it's better." No. Yeah, you know why you need a study? Some people say, "I eliminate the thermostat in my engine because in Florida at the sea level, I don't need thermostat." No, papi, because you need some temperature in the combustion chamber to create the explosion properly. No, I eliminate the thermostat. Right now the temperature in the combustion chamber is low, and this is not appropriate. Exactly the same with this. This is the cooler for fuel. It's incredible, but it's necessary.
So that water passage I was talking to you about here is the same water passage that goes to the computer.
The computer is refrigerated also.
Yeah, because it's like your computer. You know your computer doesn't get hot because why? It has a fan. Well, you don't have a fan. Here you use actually
In the engine room, everything is closed. You need raw water.
No, this is actually just like a circuit board. This actually, believe it or not, your voltage regulator, your rectifier is built in here. Your system circuit's built. It's just like if you open this up, which I gotta get another
You have
computer.
a step-up transformer.
So I have a customer who goes, and here's a common problem with these computers when the guy runs into the ground or he doesn't use the boat. Because if he doesn't use the boat, what happens to the salt water? It evaporates, right? And what's left behind? Salt. So the guy who lives up, and he comes here only in the wintertime, he uses the boat in the summer, the wintertime, and he goes back up north, sits there, water evaporates, salt crystallizes, then he goes to use it. All of a sudden, all that salt's loose. When you put water, what happens to all the salt? It packs it up right in one spot, and then it becomes like mud, and it just blocks it up. So what I do when I have a customer that calls me that, I'm like, okay, well, I'll pull the hose off on one side. I see water flowing, and then I pull the hose on. I put that hose back on, take the hose. Okay, it's flowing. Then I blow on the hose, and I can't blow through it because this here is where most of the salt packs up, and this is after the computer. So the water is going through the computer, but it can't get out. So what happens to that water that's in the computer when it sits there? It gets hot because the computer's getting hot. So one of those things is there's a thermal switch built into the computer. What happens is when it gets a certain temperature, it shuts it down.
Shut down.
So you'll be driving, all of a sudden it'll be a beep.
And what is the symptom? The symptom is, Mr. Lopez, my engine run 20 minutes and stop suddenly. And start again 10 minutes later.
And if you severely overheat, it won't even start back up for a while, for 10 minutes. You gotta be careful with the water pisser because that can trick you. It's not overheating, but it's not pissing. Sand probably got in there, a piece of shell, so you have to take an air hose or a little wire, shove it up there to free up what it needs to be.
Something's overheating though in that circuit, right?
No, if it's clogged, but if it's overheating and you're not pissing water, more than likely you're not having any water pressure at all. So give me an idea. If let's just say I'm at the boat ramp and you're testing it, and all of a sudden you're like, and things overheating, it's barely peeing. What would be a good thing that I could do right at the ramp? I have to take it back to the shop and do it there. Think about it. What are components on the cooling system?
The water pump.
Water pump, what else? Heat exchanger, what else? Intercooler, what else? Fuel cooler, what else? What controls the water flow?
Water pump? Thermostat. The impeller.
Thermostat.
Thermostat house.
So let's just say I'm working on an outboard. All I gotta do is take the thermostat off and run the engine and see if I have a good volume of water coming out of the thermostat.
More volume, more flow.
You don't want to see it trickling. You want to see a solid column coming out of water like a good flow.
Especially if it's off, because then there's no restriction.
Right, there's no restrictions, so you should
For
have good
that
flow.
reason, what is the secret to keep an engine in good condition? Marine engine. Use the engine.
And she had an E-Tech, so imagine this. I already knew the water passage, so what's the first thing I did? I checked the water passage. It sat for 3 years, so if she didn't flush it, she says she did, but you know, they lie. Customers like to lie. They don't want to tell, they don't admit. If the customers really told you the truth, you fix the motor faster.
Yeah.
But they hide it because they don't want to look like idiots. So that's why some people just, oh, well, you know, this, and then I'll catch them. There's ways to catch them. You ask a question in a different way that they don't really understand, and they'll end up sinking themselves.
My friend, now you understand until this point why you need to stop, analyze, and think when you receive a phone call, oh, I have high temperature. How many possibilities for high temperature you have?
A lot.
Millions.
You have to know the cooling system, because let's just say, for instance, on that big engine, okay, you have risers, right? But the exhaust is getting hot. What would that tell me?
There's a blockage somewhere
Some
in there before
blockage
the
in the
exhaust.
water passage they're getting out to the exhaust. Okay, those are symptoms. So your one gun that you could definitely afford is the infrared heat gun, Harbor Freight, $9.99. You guys can swing $9.99.
Yeah.
I know the 650 is a little bit stiff, but the $9.99 is okay. And what that $9.99 tells you is I can take the infrared heat gun and look for hot spots without touching the engine.
Nice.
So I'm touching here. Man, these are hot all the time. This is where the exhaust is. But you look at this, and all of a sudden you check the other side. The other side's like 50 degrees hotter. What's the problem?
Yeah.
So then that helps you identify the problem. Before the infrared heat gun, I used to use my hand. If your battery died in your infrared heat gun, this is the way you do it the old school way. If you can keep your hand on there for 5 seconds, it ain't overheat. Same thing with the coolers. You see, you have a cooler here. Let's just say you ran into a sandbar, and all of a sudden you got blockage here. Because the cooler, we have that little cooler so we can show them what it looks like.
Yeah.
That cooler has a bunch of little holes which the water passes through. So you get a blockage. So then you can check that, hey man, this is cool, and this one's really hot.
So
and
it's
then you know now,
right there.
this is how you have to isolate. Guys, you have to isolate the problem.
Look at this cooler. Look at this cooler. It's this.
Yeah, the
Salt
powder white
water.
salt. You get stuck in.
Salt water. Look at the salt water.
Look at the passage.
Oh, the salt water passed through the pipes. And here I have oil, and the oil continue. And I cool the oil with
Oh, yeah, that's what you're telling me.
the oil surrounded
In the areas that's not.
the salt water pipes. We are going to follow in this engine the path of salt water. Look at this. Look at this. The salt water is coming from the strainer, the raw water. Enter here in the raw water pump. And the raw water pump send the raw water to the first cooler. What is this? Fuel. And the raw water continue and have a division here, a T. One portion for the exhaust and goes out directly over there. And other portion continue in the second cooler. What is this? The cooler for?
Oil.
For
Transmission.
oil. And the salt water continue over there. Look at this. The salt water continue, other cooler, come on. Other oil cooler, what is this? That's the oil cooler for motor oil. Oh, and the salt water continue, one portion goes into the exhaust and the other portion continue here. Other cooler, look at this cooler. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? That's the cooler connected with this. Ah, the heat exchanger for coolant. For coolant. And now the raw water goes into the exhaust and bye-bye. Bingo, that's the path of raw water.
So there's 4 coolers.